Have you ever noticed something strange? The more you try to stop thinking, the more your mind thinks. You tell yourself, stop worrying, but suddenly you are worrying about worrying. You tell yourself, forget everything. You tell yourself, forget what happened. And now you are replaying it for the hundredth time again and again. Maybe you have wondered, why can't I control my own mind? What if the problem is not your mind at all? What if you have been fighting the wrong enemy your entire life? For me, this usually happens at the night. Everything is quiet, the day is over, and suddenly my mind decides to repeat and revisit every mistake I have ever done or every bad memories from the past. An awkward conversation from 3 years ago, a future problem that does not even exist yet, a fear, a regret, a possibility. And the strange thing is, I know these thoughts are not helping, but I still can't stop them. Maybe you have experienced that too. And if you have, you are not alone because this struggle is as old as humanity itself. Most people think overthinking happens because life is stressful, the world is complicated, technology ruined our attention. Those things matter, contribute to the problem up to some extent. But ancient Indian sages believed something much deeper. They believed that mind was never the problem. In fact, they said the mind is doing exactly what it is supposed to do. The real problem is something else, something so subtle that most people miss it and never notice it. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it and you cannot deny it. Imagine you are sitting beside a river. The river is flowing by and the leaves are falling from the tree besides the river. Leaves are floating on the water of the river. One leaf passes, then another. Now imagine that every leaf is a thought. Normally, thoughts come and go, like the leaves in the river. Try to connect the imagination with the real incidents. As if the leaves are flowing in the river, thoughts are coming in our mind and it's going away. Now something interesting happens. You hop onto one leaf and grab to the leaf. You stop seeing the river. You are now engrossed with the leaf. You think you are no longer watching the river. You are now being carried away by it. One thought becomes 10, 10 thought becomes hundreds, hundreds becomes thousands. And now you are in a utter mess. And before you know, the river owns you. Ancient sages were observing this process from thousands of years. And what they discovered changes every little thing. Patanjali wrote, Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha. Most people translate this as yoga is the stealing of the fluctuations of the mind. But that's not the shocking part. The shocking part is that Patanjali never says destroy the mind. He never says fight the mind. He never says eliminate the thoughts because thoughts are not the problem. This is where Sadhguru's explanation becomes relevant. He says the problem is not that you have thoughts, the problem is that you identify yourself as the thought. The problem is that you think you are your thoughts. Read that again. The problem is not the storm. The problem is that you believe you are the storm. Imagine watching a movie. Do you watch movies? So you enjoy the movies. Now imagine forgetting that it's a movie. You become terrified. Your suffering begins the moment you mistake the screen or the virtual thing as a reality, like our thoughts. The same thing happens inside our head. I guess as we continued, this this changes everything. Because suddenly the goal is no longer how do I stop thinking, but the goal becomes that how do I stop identifying with my thoughts and stop believing that I am my thought. Those are completely different questions. One creates struggle, but another creates freedom. You don't need a silent mind. You need a mind. You need a mind. You don't need a silent mind. You need distance from your noise. Just enough distance to realize that you are not your thoughts. Thought is inside your head. I can see this thought. Therefore, I cannot be the thought. Just enough distance to realize that I can see this thought. So I am not the thought. The next time you are overthinking, don't try to stop it. Try this instead. Notice the thought. Name it. This is worry. This is fear. This is regret. Then ask yourself, who is noticing this? Because the thoughts and the observer cannot be the same. The moment you notice the thought, a very tiny gap arises. And inside that tiny gap, there is freedom. That is the gap that every spiritual tradition talks about. Most try to control the contents of their mind. But ancient wisdom asks a different question. Who is the one experiencing these contents? The moment that question becomes real for you, spirituality stops being philosophy and becomes direct experience. Maybe freedom was never about controlling your mind. Maybe freedom arises at the exact moment when you realize you are not the noise, you are the one hearing it. I am curious, when does your mind become the loudest? At night, during work, during relationships? What's the thought that keeps repeating again and again? Let me know in the comments. I read them all, and maybe your answer may help realize someone that they are not alone. So let's build a community of truth and of peace. Namaskaram.